All right, so much about digitalization when I need already a little bit help. Good afternoon to everybody. I would like to talk a little bit about Tanjung Pelepas and about our road when it comes to digital and to automation, where we want to go and what's the plan going forward the next couple of years. To start with, just a little bit of PDP, very brief. I think probably most of the colleagues on the call or the guests on the call probably heard about PDP and know about PDP. We are a private company. We have two shareholders with the very well-known reputed MMC group here in Malaysia, as well as the AP Moller-Maersk group. As a shareholder, we do three core businesses. We obviously in predominantly container terminal, but also have a free zone and do marine services. Since we started 21 years ago, and we have handled 130 million TEU, which is quite sizable. And last year in 2020, we handled 9.8 million TEU, which was a growth of around 8%, 9%, because we did 9.1, 9.2 million in 2019. So we had a good growth during the first phase of this pandemic. In the meanwhile, in 2020, we moved up the ladder a bit, and we are the 15th largest port in the world when it comes to container throughput. We had, over the years since our inception, a 17% CAGR growth. And we have also, which is interesting, since 1998, a free zone authority. So we do also government-related work as an authority in our free zone. And we have more than 40 international companies and local companies in our free zone. So it's a big portfolio. So for us, of course, it's a question, so how do we go into the future, especially with coming hopefully soon out of the pandemic, with a drive for digitalization, automation. So what needs to be true? What do we need to do? What's our focus going forward? And that's next 10 minutes I would like to share with the forum a little bit our idea, our transformation journey. So and we actually, so to say, split it into three steps, where we said we need to fix the past, we need to focus on the present, and we need to create also the future. So we are looking at digitization as a first step, followed by digitalization, and then the digital transformation. Digitization, actually moving from analog to digital. So digitize the information and organize the information. So also in a way to say, start to make our machines talk to us, right? Get sensors in and make these machines ready for that we can start collecting data, that we start better how these machines perform, what they do. And same counts, of course, also for our colleagues and our processes. These processes, step number 3, we want to automate. So we're using, so to say, digital data to simplify the way we work. So we have all this data all the time available, but the question is, how do we capture it? And how do we automate it? And how do we use it to streamline our processes going forward? And that will be then the final step that we say the real digitalization transformation is a realignment and new investment in technology, business models and processes to add value to every customer and also to employee interaction. So this is a long journey, but for some of them, and that includes also me, I'm not an absolutely digital nerd, to say, how do we translate it? What does it mean for us in our actual world, in our actual business world as a port? So to say it with different words, we can say we need to focus on our terminal operations because we are a service provider. Terminal operations are our bread and butter with a solution via different technologies. So, and there we have actually 4 focus areas going forward. And this is the one I want to share a little bit more in detail. I think that's a little bit the heart of our transformation journey, where we say, yes, we have the terminal operations. We need to look at the terminal operations, at the heart of it. How do we do this transformation at the terminal operation? But there's also other areas around it. So when we start looking at the terminal operation, we talk about intelligent assets. We need to look at infrastructure and also the resource management. But terminal operation, yes, it's the heart of it. It's our bread and butter. But there's other areas like health, safety, and security and environment. And health, and especially safety and security, this is our license to operate. Without not fulfilling ISPS requirement, without not fulfilling also health requirement, keyword COVID-19, And I think we shouldn't be naive also with climate change and so on to think this was the last pandemic and next year is all forgotten and nothing will happen again. Things will happen. So we need also to look and use digitalization, automation to create integrated intelligent security management systems, health control systems. So this is something I can also really share that over the last 18 months, security devices also helped a lot to make sure we have SOP and COVID compliance on the terminal with our customers as well with our employees. Then we have the area of information technology. So the technology processes and the controls to protect all the system, keyword cybersecurity. It's an area which getting more and more attention, also with the understanding that each port, and not so much matters the size, but each port is a critical asset to its region or to the country. So the port is therefore always a target, like airport and other infrastructure assets, easier target for a cybersecurity attack. So we need to make sure we have a proper security system around it. And when we talk about the data I mentioned before, we want to capture. We need to have also a platform to capture the data, and equally important, to start to read and correlate data. What does data help me when I'm not using them? So therefore, it's also important that we create the right platforms. And then last but not least, the business processes and infrastructure management. So the port itself, to make this operation happen, it's a big asset in itself. So we need to have an integrated management of main businesses process, including automation and optimization. It's a facility, including the free zone, of 3,500 acres. It's a massive facility. So we need to make sure that these assets, these big assets and the assets on it get controlled, get, let's say, keep in shape, will be well protected through security, and deliver an efficient operation so that we satisfy our customer needs. So they all go a little bit, not a little bit, they all go together with each other. And if you look then, what does it mean? And when you say, okay, that's all very abstract. So tell me on examples of each of them, what are you doing? What is the areas you are focusing on? And for terminal operations, the areas we're looking is optimizing operational processes, but at the same time gaining also operational visibility. So, and of course, important is the terminal operating system, a TOS, where we're using, in our case, Nevis and FOR with real-time monitoring. And we have also, we are in constant discussion, because we're so sizable, we are in constant discussion with Nevis. What else can we do to enhance their product further, to enhance our efficiency? We have a smart suite, smart applications to optimize planning. We have a berth optimization engine, especially these days where we have so much pressure on the shipping network. It's super important that we really optimize berthing space, optimizing cranes, making sure that we maximize the capacity of the terminal for the sake of our customers. We have very interesting incentive apps, and I will come in a minute to it. But we have also a marine resource management system, and we have a labor management system, which obviously interacts with our security needs, our payroll needs, our operationally rostering needs, but also health and COVID protection needs. So all of this play together, something you could not do manual. So, and with a workforce for more than 5,000 people plus 1,000 contractors, this is something which need to interact together. Otherwise, we are not able to control these one efficiently. And the incentive app, it's quite interesting. I'll give you on the next slide as an example. An incentive app is an app every employee can download. And for example, he can see on this app, what is the performance he has done, not only on that day, but also on this hour. And how does it translate into a bonus or an incentive he's earning for this hour, for this day, for this week, and for this month. So in comparison to the past, where usually a bonus get paid, let's say per shift or per terminal on a monthly basis, it was always backwards looking. It was an average of what a specific shift has delivered over a period of time. Now we're making it through this incentive, we're making it live. Every employee at any time of the day can see how much he has earned. For example, a truck driver, how many containers he has moved, an RTG operator, how many containers he has loaded, discharged, and shifted in the stack. So all of this is live. And the interesting part is it's only possible because every employee, and all of us as well in this call, we all have these smartphones. We are able to download these apps. If we wouldn't have these smartphones and this app environment as an enabler, we would not be able to communicate this way with our employees. Normally, you communicate with them through paper or whatever. Now we can communicate with each of them individually. And this is actually some example. So if you see on the upper right, this is a live example from one of our colleagues, Mr. Rashid. This is to see how many moves he has done, which equipment he is driving, how many times he's left, and how many moves he has to do to hit the next target. So he knows exactly where he is and what needs to be true that he earns a certain incentive or even a better incentive than he anticipated. The other one, look at the smartwatch. So this is a live shift report for the shift manager. So they don't, when they go out, the shift managers on the quayside running operation, they actually see exactly on their watch or on the tablet what's going on in operation. So this is live data, and they need to use this live data. It doesn't help me when I capture this data, but we don't use it in operation. They're using it in operation. They understand how many equipment is around, how many QCs are working. So they're using it, managing the operation out at the quayside. So and that helps us obviously moving operation efficiency forward. Health and safety, I said it's our license to operate. Without a secure and safe environment, operation is difficult and actually not possible and shouldn't be possible. Here's just a few examples. We have a PDP access control system. Everything is online. So that means you want to apply for access for vehicle stickers. You have reason to come to the terminal. Everything is in one-stop shop online. We have, of course, high security and assurance. Everything with us is not only with access card, it's also a biometric fingerprint. All this is linked. It is linked or will be linked very soon. And we're working on it also with a roster system that we also know who's on the terminal. Are we, from a COVID angle, are we compliant with rules? How many persons can be in the facility? We need this data in case of this has to be done an evacuation and so on. We know exactly who's on the terminal, who's not on the terminal. We have a very effective active security system, and that's important. It's active, it's not passive. So this is a system, a smart surveillance system. That means whenever we have somebody coming close to our premises, touching a fence or whatever, immediately cameras zoom automatically in. So we still have patrolling, but that's more secondary. We have 200, 300 cameras on the terminal. So it will actually not only checking our premises, it's also really checking out what's going on the terminal. So it helps us a lot also in accident investigation or even helping the authorities when some not so good things happen on the terminal or people try to attempt some wrong things. And the last one is, and that comes more and more important, drone surveillance, intruder response. We see more and more drone intruders. So we're dealing with it, and we're working here in Malaysia very close with authorities, where we, of course, have our own drones, using it for surveillance, aerial check, see what's going on the terminal. We're using it, our drones have thermal cameras, so in case we have some peat fire somewhere, we're using it for SOP compliance, COVID related, reminding people to keep their mask on when they take it off, when they're sitting in too big crowds. But at the same time, we also need to fight back on intruders, on drones, which shouldn't be on this ISPS strategic asset. So we are working at the moment going forward even on drone radars and even on drone jammers, making sure that non-authorized drones will not come to the terminal. Information technology, I mentioned it, a big project which we will start by the end of this year. Data lake, transforming the way we utilize big data. Big data is great. We put a lot of sensors, we're collecting a lot of data, as I mentioned before, but all of this doesn't help us when we're not able to read and correlate the data. And that's where IT helping us and where's technology helping us. Internet of Things gives us the sensors collecting the data, but we need to make sure when we have the data, when we store the data right, that we can correlate and take the right conclusion out of it to increase our efficiency and improve the products we are offering. So it's data exploration, search the data, and it's a data analyzer. So that means we are walking away from the standardized Excel sheet. It's really throw everything in this big data lake and then start reading the data and reading the data with a different mindset. And that's something which I found quite interesting. Once the data is available, how do we use this data? How do we read this data? What do we want to get out of this data? And just one example we are really aiming for, and I think a lot also of our friends and competitors doing the same, for our very expensive assets, how do we move from preventive maintenance to predictive maintenance? Means, can data help us to predict when a certain part on a certain equipment will fail, and we replace it shortly before this equipment where we predict it will fail, so that we got the maximum lifetime out of it, but we don't have a breakdown during operation. And that would be, of course, a big win for the terminal shareholders, but equally for the customer. So that's, for example, one area for us where we look for big data. This one I think is interesting for everybody, also privately at home. Focus on cybersecurity. I think there's hardly any big shipping line which didn't have an attack, and I think also a lot of terminal operators got hit by some cyber threats and cyber attacks. And I really like this little cartoon which my head of IT shared with me, which says in this corner we have firewalls, encryption, antivirus software, and so on. And the other corner we have Dave. And this is unfortunately very, very true. You can have so many cybersecurity as you want, but this is, let's say, also a personal observation, and I like to share with everybody on the call. Check out in your company, how does people behave? Does people know and aware what are the threats, like phishing emails and other emails? They maybe can bring a cyber threat into the company. Doesn't matter how many firewalls you have. Once email comes in and somebody does something with it, presses on a link or do something, you have a serious problem. We did social engineering in PTP, and I have to say some of the results we got out of it weren't not so encouraging. We still have people around which have not yet a fully understanding of what cybersecurity means, and they should be careful which emails they get, and not every link for a free food voucher is maybe legit and should be clicked on. So people need to be very, very cautious. If they're not harm the company, sometimes they harm themselves by giving out credit card details and so on. So the emails, this phishing email, they're getting better and better. They're using, in the meanwhile, company email addresses. So I can only, out of own experience, say, do the social engineering test yourself in your companies, see what's happening there, see how your employees behave. And based on these results, go out and do a lot of training, education with your people and make them understand how risky it is when they go out and start clicking on links or responding to emails where they are not 100% sure. So it's a real threat out there, and I can only share with all of you. Please have a look at it for the good of your company. Last one from my side, the number 4, the business process and technology. We say integrated management of main business processes, including automation and optimization. So I just want to share a few or 4 pillars we're looking there. One of them is ERP system, where we got a new ERP system on the terminal, manage our business now from one integrated platform, including HR, inventory, payroll, finance system. Everything is in there, so that gives us a lot more flexibility and agility. Not only to say we have an ERP, it's the question, how do we use it? How do we transform it to our needs? SCADA, something people maybe don't look so much to it, but I can only encourage you, especially when you're asset heavy, look out where you have SCADA. We had a lot of SCADA on the terminal. A lot of them were isolated. So we're going together and really and put all these SCADA together into one big tool, so that we are able to analytical monitor, gather, and process also real-time data, and really watch out how our entire facility, our expensive asset, perform, where can we improve, and what is happening out there. Number 3, asset digitization. This is really fancy. By the end of the year, we will have our entire terminal on a 3D map, and all our equipment, include from crane to pickup. Everyone will have GPS transponders, and we can see live, or our colleagues in our control tower can see live every equipment at every second. So that means this will help us to look at bottlenecks in the terminal, because we see every equipment, where it is, where it moves, why it does not move, what is the next job orders, why trucks are not moving. So we see a lot of efficiency gain here for the customers, and a lot of, let's say, better asset utilization for the shareholders. And the same, through the same system, asset digitization, we will gather from the equipment data for our technical team so that they can read how is this equipment performing. And we see a time coming where there are a lot of breakdowns, smaller breakdowns on cranes and RTGs able to be fixed from the office. So where not every time a technician goes out, where we believe we will see the errors from the office and we can fix on the top, on the spot. And the last one is, and probably Boo is here from Turberg later on, he maybe touch a little bit up on it. We start looking into autonomous prime movers so that we have not an automated prime mover, not an AGV like other new terminals have. It's an autonomous one. How do I bring an autonomous truck in an existing environment? And this is something we're looking actually forward to work with our friends and our main supplier, Turberg, to develop something which we want to try out then also on the PDP facility. I think this pretty much from my side, Mark. Thank you very much, and back to you.